Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and this may end up being a thing, but it's time to have another bit of fun on Friday and look at the latest outlandish doublespeak from the Brexit press. We're going with the Express again, complaining that the EU are being childish for not employing British pilots who aren't actually certified to fly the planes around the EU. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news in politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So yeah, the same paper that writes the articles attacking the use of foreign workers is labelling as childish a so-called ploy from the EU to block UK pilots in what they are terming British jobs. After all, they say in the article, you see the headline, these jobs are based in Essex and so are British jobs. Oh, so are they just going to be flying from like Essex to other British destinations then? No, of course not. If that were the case, it would be nothing to do with the EU, would it? Because it would be entirely into Britain and we're not in the EU. So these pilots will be flying around EU countries, at which point it hardly matters where the job interview is or where they're theoretically based. The job itself is for working in the EU, isn't it? Because they're working while they're up in the air, flying around. That's sort of the job of a pilot. And the other thing to immediately point out, before we descend into the madness that is the linguistic twists and turns of a Brexit paper, furiously trying to sort of present the facts, but also defend this appalling act of national self-harm now that it's a reality. This bar from British pilots taking these jobs isn't actually down to Brexit at all. It's not even down to the EU. It's not EU rules. This is down to Boris Johnson adopting a completely unnecessary policy to withdraw from the EASA, the European Union Aviation Safety Agency. We didn't have to do this. Remaining in it didn't mean tying us to EU rules. They still could have had their sovereignty, whatever that even means these days. Empty shelves, the aroma of piss on the wind in Kent and no refuse collections in Wickham is what it seems to mean so far. But whatever it is that they meant by sovereignty wasn't impinged in any way, shape or form by remaining in this agency. But no, Boris Johnson wanted to make our own British version. We're going to have our own British version of things. British version, British this. We're going to have our own sat-nav system. No, we're not going to mess about with the EU. So it's already fairly advanced. We've paid a load of money into already. No, we're going to have our own money. I've given some money to Dominic Cummings to buy some satellites. He seems to have bought the wrong satellites though. So we may have to delay that a little bit. And I talked about this Aviation Safety Agency a while ago. You know, having our own version. According to the government's own figures, it was going to mean replicating the same work, wouldn't be any different, the same work for 10 times the cost. With less expertise, because we can only pull skills from one country instead of over 24. So a crapper, more expensive version that would take time to start up. And the upshot, obviously, of this is that we're not going to be a member of the EU's Aviation Safety Agency. That's what Boris Johnson decided. Actually, it might have been a slip of the tongue. It might have been Dominic Cummings who decided that. Who knows? Obviously, at that point, we're going to have trouble proving to the EU that our planes, and more specifically pilots, are safe because the planes are EU registered. It's the pilots that's the issue. It's a little bit like how the Brexit media, keep talking about new EU rules, and this is no different. Or is this new EU rules doing this thing to us? No, these rules have been in place for years, decades sometimes. They're only newly applied to us because these rules apply to third countries. We weren't a third country. Then you argued that we should become a third country. Now we're a third country. Do you know what that means? Third country rules. Because that's the thing, you see. All that crap about, oh, I need to leave the EU, don't like these rules. Hardly any EU rules applied to us when we're in that's the benefits of membership. Hardly any of them apply to you. The nasty ones are for third countries, And again, this didn't have to be. I mean, we could have left the EU, mad as that was. We could have left the EU. We could have remained in the customs union and the single market. Nigel Farage has been twisting and turning on that one again. Started off campaigning for that during the referendum, just like all the other Brexiteers. Then changed his mind after the result, just like all the other Brexiteers. Now that reality is biting, he's back to wanting us to rejoin the single market, at least, I hear. But this is far more insidious, really, than just claiming it's a new EU rule when it's not. Because they're trying to blame the EU for what is a UK government policy decision. Nothing to do with the EU. They didn't want us to leave the scheme. They didn't even attach any conditions. We could have remained in the EU's Aviation Safety Agency, paid a tenth of the price, no barrier to any British pilots taking those so-called British jobs. They could be certified in Britain and they have the EU certification automatically. You know, but these are not British jobs, that's the point. They're actually EU jobs because although it might be based in Britain, the planes are going to be flying around EU countries. The company's an EU company. The planes are EU registered planes. The reason for that is because they're going to be flying around the EU, you know. And when I said a tenth of the price, by the way, that's what we could have had, that's based on the fact that the government estimated that our agency, our own version, which wouldn't have any advantages over the EU one, would cost 10 times as much. But let's be honest, who believes that anything Johnson does will come in on budget? Goodness knows how much it'll end up costing in the end. But let's get into a few of the holes in this article. So, the headline, under the headline, they say some UK pilots, some, not all, UK pilots have been barred from applying for a job in Essex if they hold a British licence. Absolute classic of using language to mislead. Let me change the words and retain the same message. Some UK pilots have been barred from applying for a job that involves working in the EU if they don't hold an EU licence. But of course they can't write that because it would sound ludicrous, even to their readers. Then you have to wonder if they just wanted their readers to read that bit and go no further. Because a lot of people read headlines in further story and don't go any further. Because the next paragraph's a little bit more accurate. It explains that we have left the EU Safety Agency and that our own licences are no longer valid for EU registered aircraft, which is what these planes are. At this point, how full of holes does your brain have to be to feel the outrage at the EU that they want to foster? Because they begin by saying British workers can't apply for British jobs in Britain because of the EU, which makes no sense. But they phrase it in a way that those without critical thinking skills can just passively take it in. Oh, that's outrageous, that. Then they explain the situation. Then they try quoting a pilot who says, and I quote, Now a UK pilot's licence is not valid in Essex. We have a long history of fighting discrimination in the United Kingdom. Which is an odd combination of statements there. First of all, the licence is valid in Essex. It's just not valid outside Britain. If you want to fly around Britain, knock yourself out, son. But the jobs we're talking about here are flying around the EU. The reason these particular planes are EU registered is, as I say, because they're for international flights. And if you go to another country, you follow their rules. Even flag-humping, sovereignty-munching gammons can appreciate that, surely. As for long history of fighting discrimination in the UK, yeah, we do. Mostly because we've had a ruling class that has embedded quite a lot of discrimination into our society. Not that I'm saying other countries don't, but if you will impose discrimination onto a country, you will of course get fight back. But I'm not quite sure how the statement is relevant here, however. The article makes clear that this problem is because we left the EASA. Does that mean the solution is to rejoin the agency? Tell us, oh wise oracle in the Express. No, it's the EU's fault, apparently. And then cue the quotes. They only had one quote this time. Usually have these quotes from angry readers. They obviously could only find one who fell for this hogwash. This is a good one. So I'll comment on this one. Quote, "It's amazing that pilots all around the world can fly anywhere in the world with qualifications from anywhere in the world." No, they can't. I mean, I could get pedantic and say what would, difference between qualifications and certification, but it doesn't matter. We're talking about the qualification to fly around the EU here. No, that's not the rule. The point is that any pilot from anywhere in the world must hold an EASA licence if they wish to be employed and fly EU registered planes. British pilots are not being blocked if they hold this licence. Hence, at the beginning, some UK pilots. Those UK pilots want to get their EU accreditation. No problem at all. It's not a bar on UK pilots. It's just a bar on those certified in Britain. If you certify yourself elsewhere in the EU, no problem at all. What has happened is they used to have that licence automatically when certified by our domestic authority. But now that we've left the agency, that's no longer the case. The comment did actually end up moaning at the EU and saying the world is watching. Yeah, the world is watching. Right now it's watching us complain that our pilots are not being allowed to fly in countries without the valid licenses of those countries. The word childish was used at the start of the article. That is what the world is seeing when it sees us. I'm rather afraid. I should be furious. I used to be, but I'm too pragmatic. There's no end in it. We might as well have a laugh. There's no end in it until we get rid of this government, and that is something that can't happen soon enough. And even then, we won't end papers like this doing that, but at least the government will stop looking childish. You know, and it's going to be a while, hopefully a few years rather than another decade of this nonsense. But there we are, another brain twister from Brexit gammons. May well make this a weekly thing. Why not? To chronicle their weekly descent into madness as the realities of Brexit become more and more apparent to more and more people. But until then, I hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.